Hello, YouTube. Brendan from Chez Davis here. And this time we are double checking everything. You should have sound, you should have picture. Welcome to the live stream. And this is meant to be our last live for a while. So I'm going to tell you about that. First, let me mention we were all set up to do this upstairs, and poor Susie got a migraine. Kind of out of nowhere. We were doing something else, and she needs to rest. So I'm on my own here today, but I have a tight outline here. I'm going to refer to it to keep myself very focused. So why is this our last live stream for a while? Well, first things first, what I want to say is that we now have, as of right this second, 524 of you subscribing, which is really cool. This practical expat content that we've done has been really well received. Some of the experiments, not so much. I'll talk about that here in a moment. But this is our last regular live for now for a few reasons. But what's coming up next is even better. Now, today I'm announcing really a major evolution in the channel, but this change is happening because of your engagement, not despite it. So if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the live chat, and let's dive in, okay? So the first thing is that as we hit the next threshold with YouTube, pretty soon, within 2 to 4 weeks, we're actually going to be able to launch a membership community, and we're going to have several really special, cool perks for that. And the first thing is that the lives will actually start being a members perk. And what we're going to do to add a wrinkle to this is we want to start doing these bi-monthly Zoom hangs with you, with community members. And that will be a link that I circulate privately, and we will set the times. So it's like evening Paris time, and it's more convenient for people in the US. We'll probably do these on the weekends specifically. But we'll experiment and try to find a couple of times every month that really work for the majority of you who might want to make your community membership official and join us for that. The recordings of those will go on the channel. They will be a members only perk as well. So if you can't make it, or if you want to rewatch it and somebody said something that you remember and it was funny and you want to go back and look at it, you'll be able to do that to your heart's content. If you are a member, those will be on the page. And I have another wrinkle. You remember that we were doing podcasts for a while. And instead of just mostly me talking for an hour and a half, what I really like to do is turn that into a community interview. So if you've seen our roaming retirement interview with Brandy and Todd, we're going to do more of that. I'll talk about that here in a moment. But we want to start doing really one-on-one or two-on-one, depending on when Susie can join. I want to start doing podcasts where it's basically, us talking with you. And whether, you're in the middle of planning a move, you're in the middle of doing a move, or you're recently here and you're overwhelmed with different things, or you don't know what you need to do next, or what you don't know what you don't know, basically. Or if you've been here a while, and I hope to get some of you who have been expats in France. Some of you are French people who now live someplace else, or you have done that and you've come back. I would like to get as much collective wisdom from you, from the community, as possible to be able to help everyone who watches this channel. So we are going to be pivoting to more things like that bring this deeper engagement with the community. We've tried some experiments, and the NFL thing, it's safe to say, didn't work. We'll talk about this in the comments. A few people really liked it and had some great comments. But we're really going to double down on this expat parents in Paris angle, which we came up with when we came up with the idea for the channel. That's right there in the subtitle of the channel. So that's been our identity by design from the beginning. But we want to focus on that. And so anything we can do to help future, current, or previous expats as well, we want to find ways to do that. So those sorts of things, the bi-monthly live Zoom hangouts, the podcast interviews one-on-one, those are things that will be membership perks and will make it very affordable. We'll have a couple 3 tiers, something like that. That'll be what you get by default, is things like that. The next thing I want to talk about is the content evolution of what we actually post. And I'm looking down at my notes, doing the best I can as we're live here. But we want to do more of the videos. What I've heard when I've done these polls is, people like the fun content, depending on what it is and what your preference is. But the reason most of you have discovered our channel in the first place, or will discover it in the future, and you're looking at this as a time capsule, is because you have questions or thoughts or feelings about the whole idea of being an expat or immigrant to France, and whether it's practical, logistical, how you do it, what you do when you're here, how to maximize it, pain points, overcoming those things. We have an endless list of those videos that we want to make, and as I said before, we just need hours in the day. We need hours in the day and enough time to go by on the calendar so that we can post them, a couple times a week without overwhelming YouTube. So to that end, the first thing we have coming up, which we have shot the first part of, is a series of videos that are fun, and they're really tight and very practical. And it's 2 different categories within the series: things you should not bring to France and things you should bring to France. And there's both me and Susie with kind of our lists of those things and why or why not to bring a certain thing. The first one of those is going to go live this Friday. The second one will go live on Sunday. And so we expect to have 4 videos total in this series. It's going to be 2 or 4. I haven't done the editing yet. I've just done the shooting. It may work better to edit it in such a way that it ends up being 2 videos. Should not bring and should bring. But you'll know pretty soon which what won. you'll know pretty soon what actually won the day here. So we want to help you avoid expensive mistakes and packing hassles, and make the move with the essentials that you need and not a whole lot of excess stuff. And so we will do those sorts of practical, logistical things. We will still do the fun type interviews, but they will really be focused on France or European-based travel and cultural experiences. And again, the NFL video, in my mind, was an extension of that. But I know, as someone who didn't used to like football and now does, that not everybody likes football, American football, that is. So we're going to keep it focused on really things that relate for expats, more specifically. And the podcast where it's just me talking, that's pretty much gone the way of the dodo bird. That's pretty much extinct. But we do have other fun things planned as far as upcoming projects. More interviews, and I'm starting my outreach to some of the other content creators who you may know and love and may have discovered them before us. But I have several feelers out, and I'm trying to sort out who's going to be my next interview subject. But in the meanwhile, Brandy and Todd from Roaming Retirement, they're working on cutting up a greatest hits highlight reel from the Chez Davis interview. I sent them the master files, so Brandy has that. She does all their back end on their channel like I do it for ours. And she's working. She asked my permission. I said, of course, that'd be great. So they're going to cut together 15-20 minutes or so is her target of kind of, in their opinion, their best bits or things they want to highlight. And they'll probably shoot something that kind of wraps around it as well. And that'll be on their channel within a few weeks. She said 2-3 weeks. We'll see what her timeline is for getting that done. But so you'll see that. And I really want to do more expat expert interviews, like people who've already done the move, people who have a channel and they also are used to sharing their experiences. And also, as I said, people like you. And so some of the podcasts that go behind the membership community, there will probably be a few of those that are also on the main page as well. We'll play that by ear a little bit. But coming up again, we have more of the deep dives into healthcare logistics. We'll talk more about school and kids and raising a kid and dealing with the crèche and the PMI and enrolling in kindergarten, enrolling in primary school, and so on. We'll get into all of that, talk about cultural adaptation. We'll have fun videos that are cool comparisons of either like US or Chinese culture vis-a-vis related to France and our expectations here. And that way Susie and I each have something different and unique, to share from our different experiences. And let me just check and see what that says. Okay, fantastic. I think we're doing this correctly. All signs tell me that this is working correctly. So let's have our fingers crossed. Let's have our fingers crossed that this is actually working correctly. All right. So let me find my notes again. So let's get into some community questions and answers. And on Wednesdays moving forward, what we'll do is we'll produce a video that will replace these lives. And I'm going to shift all the time slots for the long form videos to 6 p.m. We started at 4 p.m. today for various random reasons, but or a few minutes after 4 because I had to move everything from upstairs to downstairs and get it set up in a hurry, and that's why I'm a little frazzled. If you can't tell, maybe I'm hiding it well. I don't think I'm hiding it that well, but we will do like a very edited and curated viewer Q&A and deep dive on some of the questions asked in the comments, and we'll do that every week so that it's really focused. And even more than I'm doing right now, where I'm trying to stick to a tight outline and respect your time, we will get right into it, and I'll mention in the description, these are things we're addressing this week, and the users are specifically answering, your question, or who the user is who we're answering their question or expanding on their comment. We'll include links because a lot of the comments are, how do I do X? And so if there's a special link or a series of steps, we'll do our best to detail that really succinctly for you so that it's super useful, and then you can search it. Maybe something doesn't apply to you now, but applies to you in the future, and that way you can use this as a reference. That's really the goal for all of our content is to have it be either a reference material or fun window into what a life is like here. But I want to go through a few comments in the Q&A. So let me pop over to that window. Here we go. And I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see what I'm doing a little better. So we have a series of comments related to sorry, I know this is riveting. We have a series of comments related to a few of the videos that I want to actually point out. So with the healthcare navigation success and the residence card videos especially, there have been a lot of feedback. I did the healthcare video a few weeks ago, but a lot of people still keep commenting on that. And I want to shout out specifically Lynn Mayer and Type on Tape, and many others. Thank you for celebrating Susie's residence card success. This helps encourage us that having a very practical approach to what we share with you is working, and that's what people want to see. And so, as I said, we're going to expand this when we get into the membership community. Under language learning insights, a lot of people have a lot of comments. The Alliance Française videos we did, and the Duolingo videos, and the related shorts that come off of those long forms, we still get a lot of feedback on those. We get a lot of people commenting on those, and a few people in particular. I want to shout out Bella Zarif. Thank you for defending my insights in the Alliance Française video. Thank you for defending our point of view. There was one commenter, and we talked about this like I think 2 lives ago. It was last week or the week before, where someone, it's fine to have a different opinion, but there are ways to express it that are nice and conversational and productive, and ways to express yourself that are not always like that. And Blazarif was nice enough to sort of get in and offer a thoughtful thoughtful take on things, and sort of defend by way of expressing himself with inadvertently or advertently, to give him credit, sort of defended the point of view that we're acting in good faith, because what do we stand to gain either way if we're offering our experience and our opinions, and that's to hopefully share some value to you and like real life examples in case of maybe we did something correctly or we didn't do something correctly. But I really appreciate it, and so does Susie. I also want to shout out our community member, our friend Slick Simon, who has made a lot of points on all the different language videos, and specifically, has stressed how, I mean, I guess that he's had a lot of things to say regarding the importance of the French teacher, if you're studying French language, of making sure that they teach you similarities as well as just differences, making sure that they really practice. And his kind of bone of contention, which I understand with Alliance Francaise, is that he's expressed in different ways that he feels that it's just not a great way to learn from his point of view. And I totally understand that, and we all would benefit from more repetition and more practice and more real world language, and not just textbook stuff. And it has to focus on spoken language, practical things. And I feel like I've gotten a fair amount of that. I feel like I got a fair amount of that when I was at Alliance Francaise, but it's certainly something Susie and I stress now in our practice. And we practice in the real world. I mean, you kind of have to if you live here, but you also should be. Like, we don't just deal with what we have to. We look for opportunities to chat with people, and even people who are bilingual themselves. We will try to communicate in French, and they may answer us in English, and then we're both practicing. So there are a few people we do that consciously, and then just sometimes that's what happens, especially when they realize that we speak like very small children who don't know the language very well. So if people have English, they kind of step up and help make it a smoother experience for everyone. In terms of real expat challenges as well as some fun stuff, we did have a few people who really, enjoyed like the NFL video that I did, which at this point looks like it may be. I'll probably still do a couple others, but I don't have high expectations for how many people watch those. I may end up doing those on my personal channel, frankly, because I don't want to dilute. It's tricky with a YouTube channel. If you don't have a channel that you're posting content for a public audience on, maybe it's personal for friends and family, but you're not trying to do this kind of thing that we're trying to do here, then it kind of doesn't matter. You post whatever the heck you want to post, and that's your choice. But if you're trying to do something for people to watch, it confuses YouTube. So on my personal channel, I don't really care. So I'll probably transition the NFL explainer videos about how to deal with Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, how to deal with Wembley if you're traveling for those games, and my live watch-alongs of the European games. If I still do those, I'll do those most likely on my personal channel, and I'll throw up a community post here. So if you're curious about that, it'll be, you'll have a link. You can go chase it down. But I'm not going to dilute the Chez Davis, brand, such as it is, with that. I don't think it's helpful and constructive. So I wanted to say that Heather Whittington asked a question about the costs of the NFL games in Europe, and I answered her in there, but she was curious if it's really insanely expensive. I don't think it's any more or less than going to an NFL game in the U.S. I mean, I've had different versions of seats, but both good in terms of the viewing experience. Actually, great in the case of the second game. But they were on the cheaper side, and they were between, I think the first were about 125 pounds per seat. And so that's about close to $150. And the second ones were about 150 pounds. And so you can do the math, about $180 or so. And that's about what an NFL game costs in the US for similar seats. Now, you can find cheaper seats if you're a fan of a team that doesn't have a great record and has low attendance at their stadiums. They basically give away the cheap seats. We weren't in the cheap seats, but you can go to certain stadiums in the U.S. You can go and sit way up in the nosebleeds. Maybe it's a day of ticket where they sell unsold things and it's like $25 or $30. It ain't that cheap, but it's not a crazy premium. So it's a pretty good value. Your biggest expense if you want to go to one of those NFL Europe games is the getting over here if you're not in Europe already. So getting here, and of course, your lodging, and if you're in the UK, your food, because food's expensive there too. So hopefully that answered that for you. One of our users, Lulu Lydek, if I'm saying it right, was curious about the visa timing and needing the residence card guidance being very helpful, and basically saying that was useful. And I had someone email me. I won't shout out I don't know their username. I just have they got the link from Susie's video, her part 1 of a residence card process, where she was explaining the struggles and was saying that there's a secret link to check the status of your application. And so if you want this secret link, we gave a way to contact us. And I had someone email me literally yesterday explaining her situation and that she wanted the link, please, and kind of where she is in the process and everything. So I sent it to her along with instructions. We understand how we used it and what you have to do. But we're glad that that's useful to people and practical. And I'm waiting to hear back from her. I look forward to getting a response that says, "Hey, great, it worked," or "Hey, I found out good news." On top of that, that would be pretty cool. We also had some comments that really cracked me up on our flashback video, the Fire Mountain Hot Sauce flashback video that I couldn't resist posting last week, which is of Susie and our friend Chef Jeff, and doing a Carolina Reaper sauce burger challenge that we shot this for Chinese social media back in 2020. And I remote directed it from Los Angeles, and we talk about it. We talk about it at the preface to the video itself, so you can watch the video. But I am handyman. We had a big back and forth about that. He really enjoyed it, so thank you. His take on all that was really funny, and we had a lot of people who there were enough people who liked it that I know that the people who found it seemed to have enjoyed it. But again, that's a one-off. That's off of in screenwriting and filmmaking and storytelling. You talk about the spine of the story, right? So what's the thing about? What's the main thing that something's about? And so you don't want to get too far off the main spine of the story. You don't want to branch out over here, or else you have a weird-looking tree or back or skeleton to torture the metaphor. But that was the thing that we just thought was a really funny video. We thought we wanted to share it with people. I wanted to share it with people, and Susie, enjoyed seeing it again. So hopefully you liked it if you saw it. But someone in the rooming retirement video had mentioned someone called Photos Lost and Found had asked a question of sorry, I only have 2 hands, and I realized that I need to scroll down to show you the one I'm referring to. So we had several different people who comment on the rooming retirement video. That's an older comment. The one I'm looking for is coming up shortly. Right here, Photos Lost and Found, ask a question, and they seem to not understand that this is not Rooming Retirement's channel, because they ask in our comments, they ask, do you think, basically they're asking about the cost of living in Nice. And so I told them thanks for watching, and, pointed them to Brandy and Todd's channel specifically. But it's really good to do these cost of living comparisons and analysis. To your question, if you happen to be watching this, they ask if they thought that a couple with similar lifestyle as theirs could live in Nice in a 2-bedroom comfortably for under $5,000 a month. I assume they mean $5,000. I don't know Nice prices per se, but I mean it's certainly possible. I would think. You know, we're in a 3-bedroom house in the Paris suburbs. It's cheaper than Paris by far, but Paris is more expensive than Nice. So our we're under that in terms of like household type expenses. We're far under that. So I would think you could find a nice 2-bedroom and pay your basic expenses. I would hope you could do it for $5,000 US. If not, I will never be living in Nice. Now, also in terms of people who have weighed in before on things, we've had a lot of folks who have not commented in this last week or so, but who regularly comment. We have our friend Patricia, who's Ico Snoops, Vonnie Fromage, Daniel. We have lots of people who regularly comment, regularly watch, and will maybe watch this on the replay. So hello to you and everyone else who's been a regular viewer and supporter. It means a lot. And so moving forward, we want to be able to continue to build this little community that we're working on and encourage more people to contribute. And on those Zoom Hangouts, I'm hoping to brainstorm some ways to do that, to be able to have us, interact more. And we would love to be able to have a, like do a live event, things like that, do live meetups here in Paris if anyone's making the trip. Vonnie Fromage, I don't know how confidential his business is, so I won't air it out here publicly, but I do know he's in France. He and his wife are traveling, and I believe they'll be back in Paris next week if I got his travel schedule right. But when they're back, we're looking to get together with them. So Susie and I should meet Vonnie Fromage and his wife. Looking forward to that. But everyone who regularly watches or comments, Balaz Reef, Heather Whittington, Slick Salmon, I Am Handyman, Lynn Marie, Ico Snoops, the aforementioned Vonnie Fromage. If I didn't mention you, apologies. I'm going off of some notes in my memory. But this kind of little community that it feels like we're building is really special. So I will actually wrap it up now. Don't forget to, if you're watching this, you're probably subscribed, but if you're not, please subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we go live. Don't miss Susie's latest residence card video update. She got her card. That's the most recent video besides this that we have on the channel. And again, the first members only Zoom Hangout, it's coming up pretty soon. It might be a minute, but hopefully it won't be too long. So until next time, I will see you on Friday with the first part of things you should not bring to France. And hope you have a great day or night wherever you may be. Thanks.